December 30th.
That's
I'm
right.
Kim Jones in for Kay Adams, and alongside Nate Burleson, Peter Schrager, and Kyle Brandt.
Hey.
And guys, as you know, our favorite time of every hour, it is time for the
Lead Block.
Let's talk about Brady and the Bucs. Why not, right?
All right?
We had Coach Bruce Arians on last hour. Fantastic. So happy for Bruce to join us. And here's what he said about coaching Brady and the impact he's had on the team.
It's been a joy. I mean, it's been awesome. The biggest thing, I didn't know that Tom took so much time with young players and coached them. You know, it's one thing for me to say, hey, come on, you're coming out of your break, your arms aren't pumping. And they said, sure. Then Tom says, and they go, oh, really? And they do it. So it's like, appreciate you, brother. You know, it's like having another coach on the field, that's for sure. And the one thing that we've learned is that no matter what the scoreboard says, we're going to have a chance to win the ball game.
The Bucs currently have the 5 seed in the NFC. They clinched a playoff berth in Week 16. Tampa Bay's on a bit of a hot streak. They have won 3 in a row, but it's been against. We got to do that part, right? The Vikings, Falcons, and Lions, all teams that will not be playing postseason football. Guys, are the Buccaneers a real threat, in your opinion, in the NFC, or are they just beating up on these so-called subpar teams?
I think Bruce Arians put it really well, Kim. He said, every player on an NFL field is a professional.
Yep.
And these teams are professional teams. You should never apologize for a victory. And yet it is fair to poke some holes in those 3 wins before we jump on the Bucs bandwagon and say, well, the Vikings are going nowhere, the Lions are going nowhere. And of course, if the Buccaneers beat the Lions with no coaching staff, I don't think it's the same as if they were to beat the Saints in the Superdome or something like that. That said, the Saturday afternoon game against the Lions is the biggest blowout I've seen in the NFL, maybe my entire career covering it. It is the most lopsided game I have seen from one team punishing another. And doing that was a statement, I think, to the rest of the league, because they could have called the dogs off. And they could have called the dogs off after being up, 14-0, maybe 21-0. But they kept on pounding them and pounding them. And then Gabbert came in, and right away it's Gabbert to Gronk. And then they weren't done. Mike Evans in the third quarter is getting deep passes from Gabbert. The Buccaneers are not going to take their foot off the pedal. They are here to make a statement. And I don't think you can apologize for who you played or who was coaching the other team. This here could have been one of those games where the Bucs let the Lions hang around, where the Bucs made this. It was 47-7, and it felt like it was 100-0. It was that much of a blowout. And to say that the Lions, well, you know, the Lions players were out there playing. They were trying. And I think the rest of the league saw that and said, oh, gosh, because Evans looks healthy. Godwin looks great. Antonio Brown looks like he's fully in rhythm. And Gronk is alive. And guess what? They get Ronald Jones back now, who has now been activated from the COVID-19 list. I think they're an absolute threat. Kim, before the season started, Nate, Kyle, and I all took the Buccaneers to go to the Super Bowl. And we have been ridiculed online for it. We have been mocked every time they lose one of these games. Kay took the Saints and has been saying all along, well, it's the Saints, it's not the Bucs. I don't know going now into Week 17 and beyond if we are the joke of the NFL Network or if we are some comic routine picking the Buccaneers. They look really good and they look really scary. And that quarterback right there, number 12, I might trust him in a big game more than any other quarterback in the NFC, including Aaron Rodgers and including Drew Brees. So that was my sermon. BA spoke to us this morning. It's hard not to feel like the Buccaneers are a different team now than they were a couple weeks ago.
Oh, no doubt about that.
Nate, you took the Bucs?
I took the Bucs, and they were beating up on my Lions like they were getting ready for the college playoff rankings. Like they were like, let's
RPI numbers.
run up the score out of respect. But you're right, the Bucs are for real. And there's a ton of teams that we can name. But I'll mention a squad that you talked about, which is Kay's favorite team, and it's the Saints. They're legit, man. And I've said it. We've said it. Since I've been in the league, the Saints have always been good in the regular season. That's one thing I know I can count on. It's death, taxes, and the Saints being a great regular season squad. And they're ending on the right note. You know, Drew Brees getting back. You start off a little shaky in that first game, and then that second half, he heated up. And then last weekend, oh my goodness, Alvin Kamara he showed everybody how effortlessly he can control the narrative of a game. And I'm not sure if I've seen a running back like this. I'm not saying I haven't seen a talented running back, but a guy who makes it look this easy and runs so smooth and can do it in between tackles and run like he's a wide receiver and then catch the ball like he's a wide out and break tackles like he's, a video game character. So for me, it's this team because not only do they have him, they have Drew Brees catching his rhythm. They have Sean Payton, who finds a way to motivate his squad. And then on top of that, you get Michael Thomas back. Like, forget about this dude. We're in love with Stephon Diggs, rightfully so. We're in love with DeAndre Hopkins, rightfully so. Devontae Adams is great, rightfully so. But we forget at one point, hands down, Michael Thomas was the best receiver in all of football. So imagine if he comes back healthy, with his ankle right, his mind right, and he just seamlessly fits back in. How dangerous is that? That a healthy Drew Brees, ribs healed up, Alvin Kamara behind him, Michael Thomas on the outside, a defense that's ferocious, and a head coach, not to mention, they are intrinsically motivated by what they feel like being robbed over the last couple of postseasons.
Right.
I just feel like this team is very, very dangerous.
All right,
Intrinsically motivated by everything.
Everything. Everything.
Insane.
And rightfully so.
They are, and they play that way. Let me ask you then, on the spot, if Green Bay is hosting NFC Championship game, who would they rather face? Would you rather see Drew Brees and the Saints come in, or would you rather see Tom Brady and the suddenly red-hot Buccaneers? The question is, are the Bucs a threat? Are the Saints a bigger threat to the Packers, or are the Bucs a bigger threat to the Packers?
I'd rather see the Saints.
You'd rather see
in
the
Green
Saints?
Bay.
Where's the game?
You're talking about going
Where's
to
the
Green
game?
Bay.
The
If
game's
you're
in
the
Green
Packers.
Bay?
If you're the Packers.
The game's in Green Bay.
If you're going to,
So then you're telling me that the Bucs are a threat in the NFC more so than the Saints.
I am. But and it's simple because you said if a team has to travel to Green Bay, we're talking about Drew Brees at his age with those ribs in those elements. That's different. Tom Brady knows what it's like to feel cold routinely throughout his career. I trust Tom Brady in the snow like I trust Aaron Rodgers in the snow.
All I'm looking for right now is who's playing the best ball. Alvin Kamara went ballistic on Christmas night. I don't know if the Saints' best ball as a team is ahead of him, the Michael Thomas thing's fascinating, or behind. I know this. Look at the teams that are hot right now. Just look. Right now, there's a handful of teams in the NFC that are on a 3-game winning streak.
They're scorching, bro.
Who's scorching?
No, I'm saying those teams that are hot. They're
super hot. I mean, the Bucs, obviously, Green Bay, Chicago, Dallas, Tampa, Seattle, which means that leaves out New Orleans, Arizona, the Rams, the Giants, Washington. I don't care about the standings. So often we get hyped up about teams' records because of what they did in September, and they built up fat records like a team like the Steelers. Look in December. Look now, which is why finally I remember the day that the Bucs got Brady. We were all in quarantine. It was a very strange time. And I've been wrestling with it since then. Could they win a Super Bowl? Gronk and Fournette and Shady and Antonio. I think I'm finally there because, Peter, I totally agree with you. It's like, can we just throw out the Detroit game? If it was 31-10, yes. That was Alabama versus Western Carolina. I think they legitimately could have scored 70 to 80 points if they wanted to. I don't know if I've ever seen a more lopsided game ever. And I do agree. They've found it. And, I thought Bruce was perfect because he said, listen, he even pointed out, look, the Chiefs struggled with the Falcons last week mightily. They struggle. You're going to pick apart it? Fine. I think Tampa is there. I think the Brady factor, I think the weapons are coming together, and I think they're playing their best ball now. I'm begging you at home, look at the teams that are on winning streaks heading into the playoffs. Why do you think no one wants to play Baltimore in the AFC? Because their hair's on fire. Don't look at the teams limping in because those are the ones who get knocked off. The Bucs are surging. I think they're a real threat.
Yeah, you're crazy. First of all, the entire NFL playoff picture is going to say, the Bucs are a team that we're concerned about for many reasons, including the quarterback and his experience, but also some of the other players. Here's another crazy story, little mini story time. So Chris Godwin's a great receiver.
Yeah.
He's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
This is how crazy sometimes NFL evaluations can be. At his pro day at Penn State, scouts said to the Penn State coaches, we don't think he's a difference maker. He may or may not be fast enough, but we don't see him make difference in games. And the coaches thought those people were nuts, and the coaches were right. Because Chris Godwin, who we don't talk about as much this season, it feels like, because of the influx of Brady, Gronk, we get it, I understand it, I'm not lecturing on that.
Right.
But Chris Godwin alone can change a game. We talk about great receivers, he alone can change a game, and they've got so much more with that. And Mike Evans looked so involved the other day, by the way, and yes, I know it was Detroit, but you're crazy if there's no way
Scotty Miller is back.
There's no way anyone in the NFL discounts the Bucs. There's no way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, Peter, you have to bring it back if you're talking about the Bucs and Green Bay, the elephant in the room.
They beat them handedly.
They beat the hell out of them. Now, that wasn't Alabama versus Western Carolina, but that was Alabama versus maybe Tennessee. I mean, they destroyed them.
The Saints thing is what keeps you up at night because the Saints beat them twice. And if they were to play in a playoff game a third time, Do they beat the Saints? Saints look good on.
It's tough to beat a team 3 times. I know that personally.
That's what I'm saying. So, if that is a matchup, because right now it looks like they're going to be the 5 versus the 4, which is the NFC. So let's say the Bucs win that game. I'm not taking anything away from Washington. That second round game could very easily be Bucs versus Saints or Bucs versus Seahawks, and then the winner of that gets the Packers. I can't wait for the NFC playoffs. I think it's awesome and wide open this year.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we got to get to our buddy Ian Rappaport.
Throw the sheet.
Ian's got some news for us. As always, Ian, it's Cardinals versus Rams Sunday. Both teams trying to win and get in when it comes to the postseason. So we know about Jared Goff. We've talked to you about Jared Goff. What is the latest with Cooper Kupp? And for the Cardinals, their quarterback, Kyler Murray.
Right, as if it's not challenging.